everyone. Last class we studied about Newton's first law of motion. So everybody is aware of Newton's first law of motion. What does it states? A body continues to be at rest or in uniform motion unless and until an external unbalanced force acts on it. So Newton's first law of motion talked entirely about uniform motion, where the net force was equal to 0. Today we are going to talk about Newton's second law of motion. In this Newton's second law, before going to Newton's second law of motion, we will know what is momentum. Momentum is a new word for you. Okay? Momentum. The concept of momentum was given by Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, and is extremely important in physics. Whenever we examine a moving object, we must consider both the mass and the velocity. And so we can say that momentum is dependent on both mass and velocity. Let's go through one example so that you will understand momentum in a better way. You all know about cricket ball and tennis ball. Yes. Suppose we throw both a cricket ball and a tennis ball with the same speed. Here first what we will see, that we are taking two objects of different mass and we are applying different velocities. Okay. It is found that more force is required to stop the cricket ball, which has got more mass, and less force is required to stop the tennis ball, which has less mass. It can be concluded that two bodies of different masses are moving with the same speed or velocity. The force needed to stop the heavier object is more than force required to stop the lighter object. This is first example. Okay. Now next example. Now we will take two cricket ball of same mass. Here in second scenario, first scenario we saw that masses are different but we are applying same velocity or same speed. And so what we concluded, that greater force is required to, in momentum 1, first one we found that greater force is required to stop a heavy object. Second, we will see another scenario. In this scenario, we will take two cricket balls of same mass. Okay. Now, we will throw these two balls with different speed or velocity. Masses are same, but the velocities are different. It is found that more force is required to stop the cricket ball, which is cricket ball, because cricket ball is heavy, and we have to apply more force to stop the cricket ball, which is moving with a higher velocity, and less force is required to stop the same cricket ball which is moving with a lower velocity. So it can be concluded that if two bodies of the same mass are moving with different velocities, the force needed to stop the faster moving body is more than that required for the slower moving body. So what we concluded, again, greater force is required to stop a faster moving object, or greater forces, or you can say greater force is required to stop faster moving body object means body of which is moving with high velocity. Okay, we need greater force we need. So from first one, what we can say that now this comes to the force we can say that the force needed to stop a moving object is directly proportional. We can write the force needed to stop a moving body is directly proportional to mass and velocity. Proportional to mass and velocity means if mass increases, force increases. If velocity increases, force increases. So this is called or termed as momentum. So here comes the word momentum. So momentum depends on two factors, that is mass and velocity. What is momentum? The force needed to stop a moving object is directly proportional to mass and velocity, and that is called momentum. So the momentum of a body of mass m. So how we will write the momentum of a body of mass m moving with of a object of mass m moving with velocity v is equal to the product of momentum is equal to the product of mass and velocity. So this is the definition of momentum. Is it clear, children? Okay. So first point for momentum. Momentum is denoted by small p, which is the product of mass and velocity. Okay, I'll write little bigger. First one, momentum is denoted by small p, which is the product of mass and velocity. Momentum is a vector quantity. Momentum is a vector quantity. Here you see velocity is a vector quantity. So momentum is the product of mass and velocity, and momentum has both the magnitude and direction. That's why momentum is a vector quantity. Now next, what can you tell me what is the SI unit of momentum? SI unit will be, SI unit of mass is kg and velocity is meter per second. So SI unit will be kg meter per second, can be written as kg meter per second, like this. Okay, momentum is a product of mass and velocity. Momentum is a vector quantity. SI unit of momentum is kg meter per second, or you can write like that. Now one example you see, if a ball of mass 2 kg moving with velocity velocity 5 meter per second, what is the momentum here? What is the momentum. How you will find the momentum of this object of mass 2 kg moving with velocity 5 kg? Momentum is equal to mass into velocity. So here this is 2 into, see what is momentum? Okay, momentum is the product of mass and velocity. Now Newton's, today we are going to see Newton's second law of motion. So Newton's second law, in Newton's second law of motion, the net force is not equal to 0. Means in if we compare the first law, in first law of motion we were totally talking about uniform motion, but in Newton's second law of motion we will talk about non-uniform motion where some external force are also applied. Okay children? So Newton's second law establishes the relationship between the force and the change in momentum. So here Newton's second law of motion, second law establishes the relationship between force and change in momentum. So just now what we saw, that momentum is dependent on mass and velocity. So that is the force. So force, what will be the relation between mass and velocity? Yes, force is also dependent on mass and velocity through two scenarios we have seen. What we saw, as the mass increases, force also increases. When the velocity increases, force increases. So we can write force is directly proportional to mass, force is directly proportional to velocity. Let's, for example, suppose there is an object of mass m moving with velocity v. Okay, there is an object of mass m moving with velocity v. Here what will be the change in momentum? Change in momentum will be equal to mass into velocity. Okay, after some time, let the velocity becomes v dash. Then what will be the change in momentum? Change in momentum will be equal to mv dash. Okay, so here p dash. First momentum will be small p is equal to m into v. Second next momentum will be equal to p dash is equal to m v dash. So what will be the change in momentum? Change in momentum will be equal to p dash minus p. Okay, this is the change in momentum. Now we can write force is directly proportional to the change in momentum. Yes, here the Newton's second law states that the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force and acts in the same direction. means acts in the same direction means the rate of change of momentum acts in the direction of the applied force. Okay, so here we have seen it, that force is directly proportional to the change in momentum. Okay, is it clear, children, all of you? Okay, fine. Now I hope till here we have already I am able to make you understand, and I think the thing is clear to you. Like when mass, with two scenarios we have seen, as mass increases, the more force is required. When velocity increases, again to stop an object, more force is required. So we can say that force is directly proportional to mass, and force is also directly proportional to velocity. Here what we have done, we have taken one object whose mass is m and velocity is v, then the momentum will be equal to m into v. After some time, let the velocity becomes v dash. So v dash will be equal to m into v dash. What is the change in momentum? Final momentum minus initial momentum, that is p dash minus p. So force is directly proportional to the change in momentum. The greater the change in momentum, the impact of force will be more. Okay? Okay. Now I want to explain some applications of Newton's second law. Some of our everyday experiences are basically the applications of Newton's second law of motion. In many situations, we either try to increase or decrease the time of momentum by increasing or decreasing the time in which the change in momentum takes place. We know, according to Newton's second law of motion, the force is directly, here I wrote, the force is directly proportional to the rate of change of momentum. The more is the rate of change of momentum, the greater is the impact of force experienced, and vice versa. The less is the rate of change of momentum, lesser forces, small forces applied or required. Okay. I want to give you one example. In cricket, a fielder moves his arms backward, or you can say pulls his arms backward in the direction of the ball while taking a catch. Have you experienced that, or have you seen this type of catch done by the fielder? Obviously. Okay. We all have observed that in cricket, a fielder moves his arms backward or pulls his arms backward in the direction of the ball while taking a catch. He or she does it to decrease the rate of change of momentum by increasing the time. Okay, have you understood? They do this activity they do to increase the rate of change of momentum by increasing the time. In doing so, the entire momentum of ball is reduced to zero in a comparatively longer period of time or longer interval of time. As a result, according to Newton's second law of motion, the fielder has to apply a small force in the ball. The ball also exerts lesser force, and the fielder does not hurt his palms. If the ball is stopped immediately, suddenly if the ball is stopped, then the entire momentum of the ball will be reduced to zero in a very short time, in a very short period. In a very short interval of time, which will cause a larger rate of change of momentum. As a result, the fielder will have to apply a larger force on the ball. Also, the ball will exert a larger force which might hurt the palms of the fielder. So, I hope with this example you would have understood what happens when the the rate of change of momentum is sudden rate of changes of momentum is more, the force exerted by the player will be more, and so that they will get hurt. If the rate of change of momentum will be lesser, will be reduced to zero by drawing his hand, by the longer time, the time interval will be more, the player will not get hurt. Okay, so this is a very good example of Newton's second law of motion. When the fielder is catching the ball, what happens when he pulls his arms back? The ball is moving with some velocity, suppose v. The fielder is moving his arms with some velocity v dash. So in that case, the rate of change in momentum will be less. Okay, so he will not get hurt. But if ball is coming with high speed, with high velocity, and the fielder will catch suddenly, there is no motion in his hand, then the ball will hurt his hand. So this is a very good example of application of Newton's second law of motion. Again I want to repeat, Newton's second law of motion is the rate of change of momentum. Rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force, just a minute, to the applied force and takes place in the direction in which the force acts. Okay. In second law of motion, what we have studied, the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force and takes place in the direction in which the force acts. Here what we saw just now, force is directly proportional to dp by dt. We can write like this: rate of change of momentum with respect to time. Here if I write F is, this is the proportionality sign. If I convert this into equality sign, this will be equal to, it will be formed by constant k into dp by dt, where k is equal to 1. Then F will be equal to dp by dt. Here d, what is p here children? Small p. P is equal to m into v divided by dt, m dv by dt. We can write like this. What is this dv by dt? Rate of change of velocity with respect to time is acceleration. So this is m into a, that is acceleration. Means we can write F is equal to mass into acceleration. Okay. So this formula, this and this, both are equal. Force is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum and force is equal to mass into acceleration. When we will do the mathematical representation or formulation, then I will prove it mathematically. Okay. Okay. So this one we have finished. Now next we will see. Now in Newton's first law of motion we saw uniform motion, but in second law of motion we saw the scenarios of non-uniform motion. Now we will see how Newton's first law is contained in Newton's second law of motion. Means the consistency of Newton's first law and second law with each other we will see. Newton's first law is contained in Newton's second law. Newton's first law is contained in Newton's second law. We will see the consistency of both first and second law, how consistent they are with each other. Like, according to second law, F is equal to mass into acceleration. Okay? F is equal to mass into acceleration. But what first law says? According to first law, F is equal to 0. There is no external force, so net force is 0. So, suppose this is first equation, this is second equation. Then from 1 and 2, 0 is equal to m into a, where m is not equal to 0 and acceleration is equal to 0. When acceleration is equal to 0, we can say the body is at rest. At rest. Okay? Point. If no external force is applied, on an object, then what we say? F is equal to 0. But according to second law, F is equal to change in momentum. Change in momentum. Change in momentum. So change in momentum can be right mv minus mu. mv minus mu. Here v is the final velocity, u is the initial velocity. mv minus mu. So this we can write as m is common, v minus u. If no external force is applied, F is equal to 0. If I put here F is equal to 0, then we will get V minus U is equal to 0, means V is equal to U. What does this conclude? This concludes that when no external force is applied, the final velocity is equal to initial velocity. Okay, what does this mean? Final velocity is equal to initial velocity means the body is in uniform motion. The body is in uniform motion. So from second law of motion, I have proved the first law of motion also. What does the first law of motion states? That a body remains to be at rest, continues to be at rest or in uniform motion unless and until external forces applied on it. So yes, here we have seen that Newton's first law of motion is containing Newton's second law of motion. Means this proves that Newton's second law of motion not only proves only for non-uniform motion, it is also applicable for uniform motion also. Okay. Now I want to introduce another term, that is impulse. So what is impulse? Impulse, the forces which act on bodies for short time are called impulsive forces. The forces which acts on bodies Forces which act on bodies for a short time are called impulsive forces. For example, hitting of a ball with a bat, very short time it takes when you hit a ball, firing a gun or driving a nail into a wooden block with a hammer. All these are impulsive forces. Okay. So the impulse of a force is a measure of total effect of the force applied for a short time. Impulse is the product of force and time. Impulse is denoted by capital I is equal to F into T. Okay children, now see here. F is, we can write F is dp by T, we can write. dp means rate of change of momentum divided by T into T. So T cancel and this is equal to dp. What is dp? Is the change in momentum. So we can also write impulse is equal to change in momentum. Okay, impulse is the product of force and time, F into T. Impulse is also equal to change of momentum. What is the SI unit of impulse? SI unit of impulse is, unit of force is Newton, time is second. So Newton second is the SI unit of impulse, or rate of change of momentum means kg meter per second. SI unit of impulse is either Newton second or kg meter per second. This much for today. Thank you.